Picture this: a cookie so light and buttery, it practically dissolves on your tongue, leaving behind a bright, citrusy burst of lemon. Sounds irresistible, right? What if I told you that you could whip up these delightful lemon spritz cookies with just a few simple ingredients? These delicate, melt in your mouth treats are perfect for any occasion. Whether you're celebrating or simply indulging in something special. Stick with me and let's create some baking magic. First things first, I start by mixing up this incredible dough. In a medium bowl, I whisk together 1 3/4 cups all-purpose flour. This is the foundation of my cookies, providing just the right structure for a soft, tender bite. I add half a teaspoon of salt because a little bit of salt makes a huge difference, enhancing all the flavors and keeping the sweetness from overwhelming the cookie. Next, I stir in half a teaspoon baking powder to give the cookies just a bit of lift, so they stay light instead of dense. Then I add 1/2 teaspoon cream of tartar. This not only works as a leavening agent, but also gives a subtle tang that pairs beautifully with the lemon. Now, on to the wet ingredients. In a large mixing bowl, I whisk together 1/2 cup melted and cooled unsalted butter. Butter is what gives these cookies their richness and that homemade goodness. I add 1 cup granulated sugar, which not only sweetens the cookies, but also helps create that perfect crumbly texture. Whisking everything together until smooth and glossy is key. I make sure the butter and sugar are fully incorporated before moving on. Next, I stir in 1/2 cup cream cheese, room temperature, and whisk until the mixture is light and creamy. The cream cheese adds extra softness and a slight tang that makes these cookies completely irresistible. I need to separate the egg yolk from the white. First, I carefully crack an egg into a small bowl, making sure not to break the yolk. Then, using a slotted spoon, I gently scoop up the yolk, allowing the egg white to drain through the slots. Once the yolk is fully separated, I transfer it to another bowl, ensuring a clean separation for my recipe. Now, I add 1 large egg yolk. Using just the yolk gives the cookies a rich texture without making them too cakey. For even more lemony goodness, I add 1/2 teaspoon lemon extract, optional. If you love a bold citrus punch, this is a must. Then I mix in 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, which adds warmth and depth, balancing out the bright citrus flavors. I always start with fresh, firm lemons. Before zesting, I give them a good wash and dry them. Since lemon juice can be rough on the skin, I like to wear disposable vinyl gloves while handling them. The acidity can leave my hands feeling dry or irritated, especially if I have any small cuts. For zest, I use a fine grater, microplane, or citrus zester. I like to zest directly over the large mixing bowl, so all those fragrant oils and zest go straight into the batter. I hold the lemon firmly and gently drag the grater across the surface, rotating as I go. The key is to only zest the outermost yellow layer, avoiding the bitter white pith underneath. Here's an important tip to keep in mind for this recipe. Baking Spritz cookies at high altitudes requires slight adjustments to maintain the right texture and prevent excessive spreading. At elevations above 3,500 feet, lower air pressure can cause cookies to spread more quickly and bake faster. To compensate, I reduce the sugar slightly and add 1 to 2 extra tablespoons of flour to help the dough hold its shape. I also decrease the baking powder or baking soda by about 1/8 teaspoon to prevent the cookies from puffing up too much. At lower altitudes, cookies may need a slightly longer baking time, so I adjust as necessary while keeping a close watch. Regardless of altitude, I test a small batch first to fine-tune both the dough and baking time for the best results. Once I have enough zest, it's time for the juice. I roll the lemons on the counter while pressing down with my palm. This helps break down the membranes inside, making them easier to juice. Then, I cut them in half and squeeze out half of the lemon juice instead of the full amount because I don't want the lemon flavor to be too overpowering in the cookies. The balance of flavors is key. Immediately, my kitchen fills with the bright, fresh scent of citrus. Such a satisfying moment. Check out the description below for the full recipe, step-by-step instructions, and links to all the tools I use to make these cookies. From the perfect cookie press to the best baking sheets, I've got everything covered to help you get the best results. Finally, I gradually mix in the dry ingredients, stirring just until combined. I'm careful not to overmix. The key to light and tender cookies is stopping as soon as I no longer see streaks of flour. And just like that, my lemon cookie dough is ready to go. Achieving the perfect shape for Spritz cookies comes down to 3 key factors: dough consistency, proper technique, and room temperature. If the dough is too soft, the cookies may spread excessively and lose their shape. If it's too firm, pressing it through the cookie press can become a struggle. Room temperature plays a crucial role in shaping Spritz cookies. If the kitchen is too warm, the dough may soften too much, causing the cookies to lose their definition in the oven. On the other hand, if the environment is too cold, the dough can become too stiff, making it difficult to press. Keeping the kitchen temperature between 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, helps maintain the ideal consistency. Before I begin, I always check the temperature in my kitchen. Just a few degrees can make a noticeable difference in how the dough behaves. I start by lining a baking sheet with parchment paper to prevent sticking. Then I fill my cookie press with the prepared dough. making sure it's packed in evenly to avoid air pockets. Before pressing the full batch, I test one cookie to assess the dough consistency. If the dough is too soft and sticks to the press instead of releasing cleanly, I place the loaded press in the fridge for 5 to 8 minutes to firm up the dough slightly. If the dough is too stiff and difficult to press out, I let it sit in a warmer spot for a few minutes to soften just enough for smooth pressing. Holding the press firmly against the cool, parchment-lined baking sheet, I press the handle evenly to release a well-shaped cookie. If the dough isn't sticking to the sheet, I leave about 1 inch between each cookie to allow for slight spreading while baking. Once all the cookies are piped, I chill the entire baking sheet for 15 minutes before baking. This extra step helps the cookies hold their intricate designs and prevents excessive spreading in the oven. A small tip: to ensure uniform cookies, I work in batches, pressing all the cookies onto the baking sheet before placing it in the oven. This prevents the dough from warming up too much in my hands, which could affect the consistency. If I notice inconsistencies in shape, I pause, chill the dough briefly, and then continue pressing. Shaping Spritz cookies takes a little practice, but once you get the feel for it, the process becomes smooth and enjoyable. With the right techniques and a little patience, you will have beautifully shaped bakery quality cookies every time. Once the Spritz cookies are shaped and chilled, it's time to bake them to golden perfection. I always start by preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius, to ensure even baking and help the cookies hold their intricate designs. I place the baking sheet on the middle rack for even heat distribution. Since Spritz cookies are delicate and bake quickly, I keep a close eye on them. They typically need 10 to 12 minutes, depending on their size and thickness. I look for the edges to turn lightly golden, while ensuring they don't over-brown. Since ovens vary, I always check the cookies at the 9-minute mark and add an extra minute or 2 if needed. To prevent uneven baking, I bake 1 tray at a time, allowing each batch to bake evenly without temperature fluctuations. These cookies are seriously the perfect little treat to brighten up your day, whether you're sharing them with friends or sneaking 1 or 3 with your afternoon tea. And if you love lemon as much as I do, you're going to want to stick around for my next video. I'll be making a lemon bundt cake that's soft, moist, and covered in the most amazing, tangy sweet glaze. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So hit that subscribe button and let me know how your cookies turned out. Happy baking, and I'll catch you in the next one.